Hey, everybody, welcome to the Buck Brief. Caitlin Sinclair joined. She is spokeswoman for Turning Point USA. And let's just jump right into it. So the people who don't want Trump to win have noticed that Kamala Harris has a problem with men. And here you have Kitty K or Catty K or something like that on MSNBC. She talks about Trump as alpha retro masculinity. Are they trying to sell the Trump campaign when they talk about alpha retro masculinity? It feels like, yeah, give us more of that.
I mean, sign me up for that, Buck, right? Make men masculine again is something that I have been pushing. It's not too late to make some merch, so I might get on that. But look, the modern day man has been totally emasculated with all of this talk of toxic masculinity, which we constantly hear from the left. All of these lifestyle changes have completely led to a crisis in traditional masculinity. And I'm here to say the ladies are desperately begging for men to be masculine. Alpha, retro masculine will take anything. Because look, the left wants men to be weak. This is all by design. And you know why? Because passive men, Buck, they don't stop evil. Passive men don't defend, don't protect, don't provide. They don't stand up for what's wrong. And as the great Tucker Carlson once said, the Democratic Party is the party of weak men and angry women. So I don't know. I think Donald Trump just campaign ad from Kamala Harris in camp.
It's remarkable to see how the Tim Walz, he's going to be debating JD Vance on Tuesday, which I don't think is going to go well for Walz. But it's pretty amazing to see how the whole Coach Walz, who's like the military guy and you could trust him, faded away, where everyone now is kind of sitting around saying he's a weird guy. Like there's something off about him.
There's definitely something off about Coach Walz, tampon Timmy, right? I mean, nothing screams masculinity like having someone that's promoting putting tampons in men's bathrooms. So, look, weak, emasculated, and docile men vote Democrat. I was unfortunately at the DNC and I witnessed that firsthand. You have angry, on edge women who are in their masculinity who tend to vote Democrat. And it's the traditional men, Buck. It's the fraternity brothers right now in this country that are voting Republican. You know, this country has gone bad when we're counting on the fraternity brothers to save us all. But it's the strong, caring, traditional values that these men want once again. They want God and faith as centerpieces. They want the family unit once again. They want to reclaim their masculinity. So please, men out there, in a world of guys who walk around addicted to sugar, porn, and watermelon vapes, Buck, please be an alpha retro masculine man. I'll take that any day.
Let's get into Eric Adams, shall we? Now, from my understanding, is that you and the mayor, you sometimes used to frequent some of the same nightlife spots where he was almost like paid to do that. It seems like just hang out at nightclubs, fancy places, bottle service. You think, and you're a New Yorker still. I'm no longer a New Yorker. Is the mayor in big trouble? Is he actually going to end up going to the slammer, or you think that he'll be able to fight this one, stay in office, and see where it goes?
Yeah, well, my first question, Buck, was if Mayor Nightlife would be frequenting some of those social clubs that I have run into him at. He's, pretty much always on the scene in New York at night, which is fine unless your city was on the right track. The city is deteriorating. So here's my thing on the Adams story. You're allowed to think that Mayor Adams is not doing a good job, is a bad mayor, but you're also allowed to think that he's being wrongfully targeted here. Now, of course, we don't know whether Mayor Adams is innocent or guilty, but he does deserve the presumption of innocence here, right? We do know he was one of the only mayors in a blue city to stick up and stand up for the influx of illegals coming into my city here, which is New York. Now, this was under Joe Biden and the White House that was ignoring his pleas for help, ignoring his pleas saying New York does not have the infrastructure to handle this crisis. So he spoke the truth on the detrimental migrant crises and problem here in New York and what the consequences would be. And this required of backbone. So do I think it's a fair question to possibly ask whether this is tied to this indictment now and the timing of everything? Yes, I think it's a fair question. Now, on the other hand, Buck, the mayor is trying to play victim now. He's trying to play victim. We just had recent statistics released that said 70% of all crime happening in New York is happening by illegal migrants. So the same mayor that's now trying to play victim, well, he kind of asked for this. He wanted the city to be a sanctuary city. He said it was part of New York's brand. So I think it's fair to question. I think this could be suspicious to some New Yorkers as far as if this indictment is coming down because he is pushing back against the establishment. But then again, I don't think it's fair to the mayor to play victim here. But a lot of questions surrounding this for sure.
We're going to come back and get into your expectations for both the VP debate coming up and whether there should be another Trump debate. I'm hearing maybe, not so much for sure, but maybe. We'll get into it in a second. But first up, our sponsor, Bear Creek Arsenal. Fall hunting season is coming up really fast. If you're a hunter, you're already thinking, what days am I going to take off? And how am I going to get out there and get my limit this season? So, look, if you're a sportsman who wants to have the best rifle at the best price for hunting season, you need to check out Bear Creek Arsenal. It's a North Carolina-based company, one of the best-kept secrets until recently, thanks to this show and others, one of the best-kept secrets in the firearm industry, decades of experience in crafting and manufacturing great quality firearms. And by the way, a lot of their ARs are phenomenal. The whole rifle you can buy, have it sent to your FFL, but they also will switch out the upper receiver. I'm talking completed bolt carriers and upper receivers where they have the most precision rifling on the inside of the barrel. Under $300, you can get some of these uppers. So you can switch out if you want, 6mm arc, for example. You switch out that upper on your AR-556 platform, and you're good to go. Go to bearcreekarsenal.com. Use coupon code BUCK. Save 10% off your first order. That's bearcreekarsenal.com. Coupon code BUCK. 10% off your first order. Does the VP debate even matter? I mean, people will be watching this and we'll be a day away from that debate. Does it matter other than just for people like you and me who live, sleep, breathe politics, and so we're obsessed with this stuff?
Look, I think it matters for one reason. Someone like a JD Vance, Buck, will be able to attract those younger voters, those younger male voters, maybe some of the young females, because look, he is young and he has a refreshing perspective and ideas. I don't know how much people are tuning in to Tampon Timmy over there. Of course, for those of us that this is our life up until November 5th, we'll be tuning in. But the average American, I'm not sure because they're too worried, Buck, about putting food on the table, about filling up their gas tanks, and making sure that their kids aren't being indoctrinated in school and taught the transgender ideology. So I don't know if your average American has time to pay attention to the VP debate. And look, you have the mainstream media and the Democrat elites that have already admitted to the American people as recently as this week that Kamala Harris and her running mate and her entire team do not have to answer questions. They came out and said Kamala Harris is simply running against Donald Trump. She's running against the alternative who's apparently taking down democracy. We may not know all of the answers to what she wants to do, but she is running against Donald Trump, and that's why we're voting for her. So this is coming from the mainstream media and from the liberal elite. So I don't know if that debate will even give us any answers still as to an agenda, a vision, or a plan coming from Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
Should Trump take one last debate with Kamala? He said he's not going to, but I've heard that he's leaving open the possibility of it. Do you think that there's any point, really? I mean, first of all, people that said Kamala did so on the last debate, it seems like the numbers show otherwise.
Yeah, I think a former president there could consider, I don't know, maybe doing it with you and Clay. That would be something
That would be fun.
I would tune into. But in all seriousness, I think if the Trump camp were to consider doing another debate with Kamala Harris, they have to actually take these ideas into place here, right? There are factors that will set Donald Trump up again to fail. Not saying he failed. I think he did a great job and he did take a little bit of the bait, but still, this is the only candidate that has a vision, that is giving us a plan, giving us a way that he's going to make America strong and secure and safe again. On the other hand, Kamala Harris was just spending the whole debate making fun of Trump and trying to get him to fall into her trap. So I think if the camp wants to do another debate, being that Donald Trump has pretty much said yes to anyone that asks him for an interview, including streamers, podcasters, influencers, I think it's probably on the table, knowing Donald Trump myself and knowing the campaign. But I think they need to take these factors into play here and not just agree to a lamestream media debate once again.
We'll get into some of the Gen Z vote here in a moment, but our sponsor, IFCJ, you may have seen major strike by the Israelis in Lebanon just a few hours before we recorded this show, and things could heat up in the Middle East even more than they already are. The tensions are very high. Now is the time for Israel's allies to stand with the Jewish people. The International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, or the IFCJ, has been providing Israeli citizens with food and medicine for their bomb shelter stays, which can last for several days at a stretch. And for more than 40 years, the IFCJ has been on the ground in Israel. In anticipation of a show of support for our friends in Israel, hundreds, if not thousands, of churches here in America will honor them in the days immediately leading up to October 7th, the anniversary date of Israel being attacked by Hamas. Your generous donation today not only will provide a flag symbolizing your support in churchyards across America, but it will also support the fellowship's ongoing emergency efforts. Go to supportifcj.org. That's supportifcj.org. Last one for you, Caitlin. I think that Gen Z is not going to come out big for Kamala. I think that, they might, more votes than Trump will get this time around. But I feel like no one's really inspired by Kamala. Gen Z voters, black voters, Hispanic voters, nobody's inspired. I don't think any Democrats are inspired.
Well, what's there to be inspired by? The twerking and the word scramble salad, Buck. You're absolutely right. I think when we see this all the time with Turning Point Action on these college campuses, engaging with young voters, my generation, the millennials and the Gen Zers coming up behind me, of course, we grew up in this post 9/11 era, right? With endless wars, with debt looming over our heads, and with zero chance at the American dream. So we started the show off talking about the fraternity brothers in this country, and that is just a microcosm of what I believe we're seeing across the United States right now when it comes to young people. Young people, Gen Zers, the frat brothers, they want to take this country back. They want a real return of masculinity. They want a return of femininity. They want a return of the family unit, of hard work, of God, of faith. All of these core principles and values as centerpieces once again. And that vision more aligns with Donald Trump, not shake and bacon, word scramble salad, Kamala Harris, who again, Buck, to this day, if you go to her website, still has zero plan and zero vision as how she's going to help the young generation. And again, paying people to come twerk at her rallies, not helping.
Follow Caitlin Sinclair on Twitter or X and on Instagram for the latest from all things Turning Point and, Saving America, that kind of good stuff. Caitlin, have a great weekend. Thanks for being with us.
God bless. Thank you.